Okay, so I got the skid steer in here, and let me show you what I'm dealing with this bucket. I've got cracks in this bucket. They're right around where the coupler attaches to the bucket. So right back there in the back essentially is where the coupler comes in. Same with over there on that other side. But you can see right here, that is a crack that goes right around the bottom of where that coupler is. And then I have multiple cracks all along that pressure point. So, you know, when you have a bucket that's loaded up, obviously you have all the weight that's down here on the bottom of this bucket. It's being held up by those couplers and two locations, and that's a lot of load that's being put right on that joint, right down through there. And I don't know how obvious that particular crack is, but you can see right in there that it's probably a good 1/4 of an inch, you know, and you can see that I'm sticking this tie wrap up in there. And then I have some others right around in this area right here, and they essentially go all the way across, not continuously all the way across, but then to the same coupler location over here on the other side. You can see that I've got a big crack right here. So what I need to do is I'm going to see if I can pound this in first and try to get it flush if I can. And then I'm going to try to run some welds all the way down the length of that, both on the inside of the bucket and on the other side of it as well. So let's see what we can come up with to try to reinforce this and get this thing where I'm not using it one day and then all of a sudden the thing just breaks in half. Because if you don't fix something like this, that's essentially what's going to happen. It's just going to tear this bucket up. I have another bucket, but it's a tooth bucket, and of course, you know, this one is got a cutting edge on it, and it's a smooth bucket, a finishing bucket. So this is nice to have available to you for different types of jobs that you do. So let me just do the repair on this and see if I can you know, keep this bucket going a little while longer and not have to buy another one anytime soon. Okay, so what I've decided to do is go ahead and turn that bucket up on end. And I believe it's going to be easier for me to try to get to the back side of this bucket. You can see the crack all up through here, right here in this support area. It's also cracked right down in there, all along where the coupler fits in. So I think it's going to be easier for me if I try to weld it from this back side as opposed to the front side. If I can get a good fillet weld in there, then I'll try to run a couple of beads from the inside of the bucket as well. But just as far as positioning of the probe and being able to run a clean bead in there, I think it's going to be better if I do it from this back side. It's a little tight underneath the boom right here, but I think I can get to it a lot easier than trying to do it upside down from the inside of the bucket. Alright, I got those seams welded up. So this was my first run at it over here. I was still a little sloppy trying to figure out the right amperage, and these had some pretty good gaps in them. So if nothing, I laid a lot of rod down in there. The welds weren't very pretty over here. Then I had to lay some more right down into this area right in here. I had some cracks in there. And then here over on the other side, I was starting to get a little bit more of a hang of the right amperage, and so I got some rod laid down in there, and I got good penetration because it came through nice on the other side as well. So it's not pretty, but we'll see if that holds. I'm just concerned about that this thing had some cracks that was developing in there, and this is the bucket that came with this skid steer, and it was pretty beat up to begin with. So, you know, if I can just get a little bit more longevity out of it without having to get another bucket. Like I say, I've got another bucket. It's a new one that I just bought this past year, and it's got teeth on it. But this is more of kind of a finishing bucket. So it's nice to have two, and so if I can get any more use out of this by just keeping those cracks from expanding, then I'm pretty happy with that. So in terms of the welder, it did great. Ran fine. It took me just a minute. It has a chart over here on the side that tells me that when I'm using this particular rod, mine was 1/8 inch, that I should be set on 120. And so that's what I started it out at, and then that was too hot. I took it down to 90, and I couldn't get it to go with that particular rod. It just wouldn't fire off. So that was obviously too low. So then come to find out that 105 was a good setting for me. So it took me a minute with some of those initial welds to figure that out. But then once I got it figured out, then it ran pretty good. Let's see, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it right here, but you can kind of see up underneath there that I was getting some penetration through there. I'll probably come back and hit this forward side of the bucket as well at some point. But for right now, I had just gotten called away for some fence line that was broken out there in our pasture that I needed to address. So I'm just gonna finish this up for today. And it's sloppy. I was running a decent beat in there. That was kind of a cover pass right there. I was still trying to get used to the amperage though. But if anything, if it can't be pretty, make sure you get good penetration. That's that's my philosophy when it comes to welding. So anyway, okay, the Lincoln AC 225 welder, stick welder, and my first job using that was on that skid steer bucket. And I've got other things coming up, and I'm looking forward to using it. So we will call this job finished.